Welcome in to today's edition of the Full Count Offering here on the Beltway Network. We got a lot to talk about today. I mean, what a day it was yesterday, day one of the 2025 Major League Baseball postseason. It's a very interesting situation that we have going on. So, after, of course, yesterday, today is potentially an elimination day for four teams. Of course, all of the losing teams from yesterday's situation. So it's going to be an interesting day today. We'll see what happens. There's a lot to get into today. We're going to take a look at what happened yesterday throughout the day and throughout all four games that took place yesterday, all four wild card games. And then, of course, we'll get into a preview of today's games, today's scheduled pitching matchups. I will say, yesterday I made a prediction for each game. Three of them were correct based on the matchups and just kind of the situation. One of those predictions was incorrect. My incorrect prediction was the Padres-Cubs game. I think I might have underestimated the Cubs. That's on me. That's my bad. I might have underestimated the Cubs. I just looked at the team and I thought, what exactly is special here? I mean, what about this team has what aspect of this team is going to lead them to postseason success? I mean, that's the question I was asking myself. I know that their pitching staff hasn't been great, and they're currently down a big name starter in Cade Horton. But I knew that they had Matthew Boyd, and I knew that I know that Shota Imanaga has really kind of declined as of late. He did not have a very good end to the season. I knew that the bullpen was okay, but I didn't think that it was anything too special. But I think I underestimated the Cubs. Now, yesterday, I mean, I don't know what the thing is, I don't know what to anticipate. I don't know what I'm supposed to look for with the Cubs. Do I go with them today simply because I underestimated them yesterday, or I don't know what I do. But anyway, we're going to get into all that. But thank you all for tuning in if you are here. If you're not here, well, I guess you won't be seeing this message. But as I mentioned yesterday, we're going to try to grow this community, try to grow this platform. And I understand that that's going to probably take a good amount of time. These things don't just emerge overnight. They don't just prop up. You can't just see a huge development in terms of growth and a community just overnight. But I'm hoping that the more we do this, the more comfortable we get here, the more reps we get put in. We're going to be here every day throughout the postseason doing this exact show, doing this exact format at this exact time. I'm hoping that with repetition, maybe people start to notice. Maybe people start to get involved. Maybe people start to find us somehow. I don't know. I don't know how long that's going to take. I mean, it might take... I might not get a single new viewer throughout this postseason. But at least I tried, right? I mean, at least we're attempting something here. Like I said, I understand that this is going to take time, as all things do. But the only way to start something and try to make that something succeed and grow is to commit to it. And that's what we're doing here. We're committing. So, no matter how long it takes, doesn't matter if I get 0 viewers throughout the first month. Maybe I'm going to be here every day next season, and there's not going to be a single person that knows that this exists. And you know what? At least I tried, right? I would imagine that at some point somebody's going to find something in regards to this, and we can go from there. when that happens, or if that happens, it's not up to me. That's up to the universe to decide that. So we'll see. But regardless, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be talking some baseball. So if you are new to the channel, if you are watching this and you are new here, please do consider hitting the like button on this live show. Chat with us in the chat, comment down below if you're watching this on playback. I don't know if people do that. If they do, that's awesome. If not, then, well, disregard that. And also feel free to subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell, because we're going to be live here a lot. So without the bell on, you won't know when we're live. So if you're interested in this and you want to join, you got to hit the bell. I know years ago YouTube was having issues with that, but I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, you can also follow. We do have 2 accounts over on X, formerly known as Twitter. My personal account at Nate Chive. I was doing some brief. I was tweeting out some important things out of yesterday's games. So you can chat with me over there if you want. You can also follow this network over on X at Beltway_network. We're trying to build that community before we really try to sow. Okay, so let's get into some of the highlights from day 1 of the Wild Card Series. 4 games, of course, as there are in the Wild Card Series. So we'll start with the first game that happened yesterday, which was the Tigers and the Guardians. As I anticipated, the Tigers did come away with this one. I said yesterday here on the show that I thought that yesterday was a must-win game for the Tigers because this was going to be the only game of the series that they were going to send Skubal to the mound. And I thought that it was going to be pretty imperative for them to win with Skubal as opposed to losing with Skubal and then having to somehow piece together the next 2 games without Skubal. The chances of victory with Skubal are a lot better than the chances of victory without Skubal. So I thought that yesterday was a must-win game for the Tigers. And what did they do? They went and won. So I thought it was a very good. I also anticipated this to be a pitching duel, and that's what it was. I mean, Skubal was unbelievable. Gavin Williams was holding his own, though. You have to give credit to Gavin Williams as well. Obviously, Skubal came out, I'd say, the victor of the pitching duel since he did get the win of the game. Williams did get the loss despite not giving up a single earned run. He did give up 2 unearned runs, and we'll get into that. But the final line for Tarik Skubal, very, very impressive, and something that it feels like you don't see much of, especially now, is managers allowing their starters to really go deep into ball games. And I understand that Tarik Skubal he's an anomaly. I understand that he's not like every other starter in Major League Baseball. He's likely going to win his 2nd straight Cy Young Award this year. But the same can be said about some of the other starters that went deep into this game, or not in this game, but in of the 4 games yesterday. But the same conversation could be said there with a number of those guys being Cy Young contenders. But I don't know. It's just refreshing to see managers let their pitchers go deep into ball games, no matter what their pitch count is. I mean, I forget how many pitches Skubal threw, but it was well over 100. Let me actually find that real quick. Try to pull that up real quick. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's really refreshing to see starters going deeper into playoff games. I understand that sometimes you will see starters go deep into, it was 107 pitches. Sometimes you see starters go deep into regular season games, but even that's also kind of feels like a rarity where starters are going past 6-7 innings. We saw Skubal go 7 2/3 yesterday on 107 pitches. Like I said, it was a very, very incredible outing for him. And it's just refreshing to see in this day and age, managers allowing a starting pitcher to go this deep, especially in a playoff game, especially a playoff game that was so close. It was a 2-1 game, right? So that's obviously you put a lot of trust in a guy like Tariq Skubal. I don't know if, a Jack Flaherty or a Casey Mize or a whoever else on the Tigers pitching staff would get that kind of leniency in such a close game. I understand that Tariq Skubal is unlike most other pitchers in baseball, but I still think I still love to see it, and I love to see managers, kind of be a little lenient, especially in such a high stakes game. Because even though he is Tariq Skubal, he was just one bad pitch away from a tied game in the 8th inning. Yet A.J. Hinch decided to stick with him and put that trust in Skubal, and it ultimately did pay off. So Skubal's final line: 7 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, and a career-high 14 strikeouts. It was an incredible strikeout day for Skubal. It was truly just an incredible outing. It was, watching Skubal pitch is a spectacle in itself, but yesterday was an entirely different day for Skubal. There's what Tariq Skubal is expected to be, and then there was this start. So I feel like that this start exceeded the expectation of Tariq Skubal, and that's not easy to do. He's Tariq Skubal. So, like I said, front runner to win the Cy Young Award this year. So it was just an incredible outing from Skubal. And Gavin Williams was right there with him for a lot of the time. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 unearned runs. There were a couple of fielding errors from the Guardians' defense, and I looked at the lineup yesterday, and I looked, as we got into the game, I saw that, the Guardians' defense could have been a liability yesterday, and it did turn out to be a liability. It did ultimately cost them the game because these were the only 2 runs that the Guardians pitching staff allowed, and they were both unearned runs that would not have happened if not for the fielding errors from their defense. So the first unearned run actually came in the first inning. There was a fielding error from right fielder Jonathan Rodriguez, led to the unearned run. It was I do believe it was a base hit, but he allowed the runner to advance to second on the error, and then there was a base hit the next batter, or at least later in the inning, that allowed that runner to score. Whereas if it had just been a single minus the E9, that runner would not have scored on the next hit. So and Williams would have been out of the inning unscathed. Unfortunately for the Guardians, the error became it cost them the run in this case. And then there was, in the 4th inning, in the 7th inning, there was another fielding error. This one was from first baseman Jhonkensy Noel, who does not have a lot of time at first base, which is why it's interesting to me that Stephen Vogt opted to put him in there at first base. I feel like a lot of the questions going into Game 1 yesterday was, why is Jonathan Rodriguez playing right field and why is Jhonkensy Noel playing first base? And it feels like the main reason for that was they wanted both of their bats in the lineup. But I need to pull up the box score here, but I'm not sure that either one of those guys had an impact offensively. Let's see here. Jonathan Rodriguez went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, and Jhonkensy Noel went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. So you wanted both of those bats in the lineup, so you put both of them in positions that they're not exactly good at, or at least not experienced at, especially in the case of Noel, who's playing first base in a playoff game. This is Game 1 of the playoffs for the Guardians. It's a pretty important victory, especially in the wild card round, to get that first victory for the Guardians. And you're putting defensive liabilities out there, and immediately when you saw the lineup posted, you saw Guardians fans under the post saying, Why is Noel playing first base? Why is Rodriguez playing right field? What is this defense? What is this lineup? And those concerns from those fans turned out to be valid because that is what cost them the game. These defensive placements, which I looked at them originally and I thought, okay, this is a little strange. I'm not quite sure why you're going this route, especially in such an important game. And it's ultimately what cost them the game. So the fielding error from John Kenzie Noel was ultimately, it would have been, originally it was scored an infield hit, but then they went back and changed. So originally it was an earned run at the time against Gavin Williams. But instead, later on in the game, late in the game, they changed it to a fielding error from Noel. There was a play at first, and he just missed the bag when fielding the ball and stepping on first. So I thought that was an obvious error on Noel when it happened. So I was a little confused as to why it was ruled a hit. I'm glad that they went and changed that because I don't think that would have been fair to Williams to charge that as an earned run to him. So the Guardians put out today. I imagine it's not going to be what we saw yesterday with these defensive liabilities. But we will see. I don't know. I know that they're and so I think one of the key things for the Guardians here in the postseason, if they want to go on a successful run here, is going to be, can the defense back up their pitching staff? I mean, the pitching staff of the Guardians has been really good as of late. And it's part of the reason why they saw that big surge in success toward the end of the season. The question now is not going to be, can the pitching staff maintain what it is that they can do? Because we know that it's a very good pitching staff. The question now becomes, can the defense and can the offense back up their pitching staff? Yesterday, we did not see much from the offense. Now, granted, they were facing Tariq Skubal, which they did score. The one run that they did score was off of Skubal. So it's not impossible to score against Skubal. So they did get the one run. And if you take away the unearned runs, the Guardians did outscore the Tigers when it came to earned runs. So I don't think the offense is going to be the problem with the Guardians. I think the offense is going to be able to carry their own. I think that they will be able to outscore their opponent. It's just going to come down to the defense, right? It's going to come down to, can the defense hold their own? Can the defense help out their pitcher, or will they be a liability like they were yesterday? And we're going to find out. Now, it was a little disappointing. The offense was a little disappointing there in the ninth inning yesterday. Jose Ramirez reached on an infield hit. I believe it was the shortstop Baez. It was Javier Baez that threw the ball away, allowing Ramirez to advance not just to second but to third. So the Guardians had the leadoff runner in the ninth inning, the tying run in a 2-1 game. They had the tying run 90 feet away with nobody out, and they couldn't score. Ramirez was ultimately caught in a fielder's choice. He was tagged out at home. Not out at home, but he was in a rundown basically between third and home. So bad base running and just an unawareness. I don't know. I feel like in that case, you have a leadoff runner at third base, right? And that is the tying run. At that point, I know that guys are just going to swing for the fences and try to walk it off, right? I feel like that's the mentality in that situation. But I don't know, if I was the guy calling the shots there, how are you not going up to the next guy in the lineup and saying, lay one down, right? Put the ball in play. See what happens. Instead, they send up Valera. He strikes out. And, that's no good. You're not going to be able to do anything. You're not going to be able to accomplish anything by striking out, right? And he didn't even try to lay one down. So I don't know if... So it wasn't even told to... It wasn't even a suggestion. It wasn't even an idea, apparently. Because he didn't do it. He didn't even try. So it's little things like that you need to be aware in the moment. And when you are in the bottom of the ninth inning in a 2-1 Tigers game, you're trying to tie at the very least, you want to tie this game and take it to extras. At the very least. And you're not bunting? I get you don't want to give... I get it. Okay? You don't want to give a free out. But if you're just going to go up there and swing for the fences and swing at garbage pitches, how's that any different than than exposing yourself to an easy out on a sacrifice bunt? You're going out there without a plan at the plate. You have no idea what you're looking for because you're just swinging at anything and everything that is in front of you. How is that not in your mind that what you need to do in that moment? I mean, Jose Ramirez is a speedy runner. You put one down on the right side of the infield, he's going to score right then and there. It's a brand new ball game, and it's a tied game in the bottom of the ninth. And what happens from there, you don't know. I don't know. I mean, based on what we actually saw, it's probably going to the 10th. Right? You're probably going to the 10th inning. But then at least you're showing life. At least you're showing fundamentals. When you're just up there with a runner at third and you're just swinging for the fences in a one-run game where you are down by 1 run in the 9th inning. I get that if it's the 7th, 8th, maybe you're swinging and you're trying to put a ball, you're trying to get a hit, you're trying to get on. I get that. But you are in the bottom of the 9th inning. This is your last chance. It is imperative that you do everything you can to try to at least tie this game and take it to the 10th. And you don't bunt? You don't bunt. You don't even try. How? How does nobody on that coaching staff go up to Valera and say, hey, put one down, at least try, at least attempt? But he didn't try. And then Ramirez is out on the fielder's choice, and at that point you knew the game was over. You had the opportunity, you had the chance handed to you in the 9th. The moment that ball got by from Javier Baez, he threw it away. It went up the right field line. The moment you knew Ramirez was getting to third with his speed, you had a leadoff runner at third base, and the next batter comes up and strikes out without even attempting to bunt. I don't get it. I don't understand. It felt like a no-brainer. And they didn't do it. And they lose the game. And if they go on to lose today, and they get swept after the miraculous comeback that they had in the final month and a half of the season, if they lose today and they go home and they're swept by the team that they beat to win the division. They surpassed the Tigers. They jumped the Tigers in the division. To come here to the wild card round and just get swept by them, what was it all for? And if they get swept today, or even if they lose tomorrow and they lose this series, how do you not look at the runner at third, nobody out, in a one-run game that you're down in game one. How do you not look at that situation and be ashamed by the performance that was put on after you got the tying run 90 feet away with nobody out? It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. So, beyond that, beyond the offense, which I still don't think it's a concern. I think that they're going to be able to do enough if their pitching staff is up to par, which yesterday I think it very much was. It's going to come down to the defense. It's going to come down to can the defense play fundamental? I mean, can they make the routine plays? Can they make the routine plays? That's what it's going to come down to for the Guardians. And yesterday was a poor excuse defensively. It was a poor excuse in the ninth inning offensively. And I still don't think the offense is a concern. I don't. I think the offense will be able to do enough in most situations. The ninth inning yesterday was obviously not the right thing in a very important situation, but I think overall the offense is not a concern. I get that there are a lot of job when it comes to the defense. And yesterday we saw a very bad performance from that defense. So the Guardian bullpen yesterday was excellent. Through 3 scoreless innings, they did not allow a hit. There was one batter that reached and it was on a hit by pitch from Cade Smith. So the Guardians bullpen was excellent. Again, the pitching staff is not the concern when it comes to the Guardians. It's mostly the defense. The offense, I think, can hold their own. Will Vest came in and got the save, a 4-out save after Scooble left after 7 2/3 innings. He went an inning and a third, gave up the one hit to Ramirez, got a strikeout, and ultimately the save. He was actually the one that made the play with Ramirez. It was an unassisted fielder's choice. He ran down Ramirez up the third base line and tagged him out. So it was a very impressive outing for Will Vest, and I feel like a very important victory for the Tigers. I don't want to say that the Guardians just kind of gave this victory to the Tigers, but it does kind of feel like that they just gave the victory to the Tigers. Scooble had a lot to do with the victory, of course. But I mean, you look at the numbers. Both runs scored by the Tigers were unearned. So the offense for the Tigers, I mean, they obviously weren't terrible. They were able to get base runners and capitalize on getting an extra out or getting an extra base runner. So they were able to capitalize on the Guardians' misfortunes. But beyond that, they couldn't really do much offensively. The Tigers' defense was pretty great, besides the ball thrown away from Baez, but that ultimately did not come back to bite them. Should have, but it didn't. So we move on to today, and today's matchup, which I think should be interesting. I do think that let's just get right into it. It's going to be Tanner Bybee for the Guardians taking on Casey Mize for the Tigers. So this year, both pitchers have faced the opposing team 3 times. We'll start with Casey Mize. 3 games against the Guardians this year. Record of 1-0 in those 3 starts, so 2 no decisions. First start came on May 24th. Mize went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, only 1 earned on a home run from Bo Naylor. A walk and 6 strikeouts. Second outing on July 5th, 7 innings. This was a much better outing. Not that the first one was bad, but this one was an excellent outing from Mize. 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. This was the 1 win that Mize earned. If we see this version of Mize today, it's going to be tough for the Guardians. It is. But luckily for them, they have Tanner Bybee on the mound. We'll get to his record against the Tigers this year in just a moment. Third and final outing for Mize against the Guardians came just a couple weeks ago. On September 16th, it was 5 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. So the Guardians were really able to get to Mize a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if they can do that again today. There was a home run from Gabriel Arias, the shortstop, in this game a couple of weeks ago. So basically the moral of the story is the Guardians know how to hit Mize, but Mize is very good at limiting damage. Overall, 17 1/3 innings pitched against the Guardians this year from Mize, 15 hits. So the Guardians, they know how to get hits against Mize, but Mize kind of locks in when he gets guys on. Only 5 runs allowed, 4 of them earned, 4 walks, and 18 strikeouts. So not the greatest of numbers against the Guardians, but Mize is pretty good at limiting damage. He's able to really kind of lock in whenever runners get on. So it's going to be interesting to see how Mize pitches today and how the Guardians hit against him. Meanwhile, Tanner Bybee against the Tigers this year, 3 games, a 3-0 record. This is why I thought that Skubal winning the game for the Tigers yesterday was so important and so imperative, because we knew that the Guardians were going to probably – it was. I don't think it was announced until after the game yesterday, but you knew that Bybee was going to pitch one of these games. And you knew the numbers, or maybe you didn't know the numbers, but, I mean, if you were a Cleveland fan, you knew the dominance that Bybee brought against the Tigers this year. So he was kind of the guy that you were going to probably send in. If you won yesterday, you probably were still going to send Bybee to try to sweep, but, you know, you're looking for a win. The Guardians, I mean, this is a win-or-go-home game. I mean, this is an elimination game potentially for the Guardians if they lose. So they're sending up their best option, and that is Tanner Bybee. And he has been excellent against the Tigers this year, 3-0 record in 3 games. First game came on May 22nd. This was an excellent outing from Bybee. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. Incredible outing. September 18th, just a couple of weeks ago, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Another very good outing from Bybee. And then the following week on September 24th. So he has faced the Tigers twice in the last 2 weeks, and he has done very well against them. This was another 6-inning outing, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. And what's interesting about this is that Bybee has not given up a home run to the Tigers this year. And typically, in most cases, the team that out-homers their opponent in the postseason ends up winning. So Bybee's been able to keep the ball in the ballpark against the Tigers this year. We'll see if he can do that again today. But you look at these numbers, I mean, they are just incredible. 3 outings, three starts against the Tigers, all of them 6 innings or more. No more than a single run allowed. And, I mean, Tanner Bybee has just been incredible against the Tigers this year, and this is exactly what the Guardians need today to try to avoid elimination. So, ultimately, throughout the 3 starts, accumulatively, 19 total innings against the Tigers this year, 12 hits, only 2 runs, 5 walks, and 21 strikeouts. So he has just been incredible against the Tigers this year, and this is exactly what the Guardians need today. So based on these numbers, I feel like I have to go with the Guardians today. I mean, the Guardians, the numbers don't lie. And so yesterday I went with the Tigers because I thought it was a must-win for the Tigers, and I think today is a must-win for the Guardians, and they're sending up their best pitcher against a team that he has done very well against this year. So I'm going to go with the Guardians today with Tanner Bybee. And we still have 3 more games to get through from yesterday, and we will get to the Cubs-Padres game. We will take a look at what happened yesterday and take a look at what is to come here today in just a moment. So, we'll be back in just a moment. was quite the day in baseball yesterday, and we had just talked about the Tigers and the Guardians. Let's get into the Cubs and the Padres now. And I said at the start, I might have underestimated the Cubs, and I do think I did. I think I did. I think that I underestimated their pitching staff. I think I underestimated their offense. I think I was a little unfair to the Cubs. I wasn't really giving them much of a chance, and it was probably wrong of me to do. So, credit to the Cubs for battling yesterday. Starting pitching yesterday wasn't really all that great from either side. I mean Pivetta was good, I feel like. I don't know. Neither starter got into the sixth. Matthew Boyd ultimately went 4 1/3 innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 earned run, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. The 1 run against Boyd came on back-to-back doubles. It was the only run that the Padres scored. It was back-to-back doubles in the second inning. Jackson Merrill and Xander Bogaerts with back-to-back doubles, and that was the extent of the Padres' offense. I mean, that was the extent of the Padres' scoring offense, rather. So pretty lackluster day offensively for the Padres, and I mean, I guess that they were facing. Daniel Palencia was excellent yesterday. He came on after Boyd, inning in 2/3, no hits, no runs, 2 strikeouts. He ultimately got charged with the win yesterday. He was excellent, and I feel like he kind of set the table for the rest of the bullpen to come in and do their job. So it was a very good day for the Cubs pitching staff, especially the bullpen. They ultimately covered 4 2/3 innings scoreless, so it was a very good day for the Cubs bullpen. Nick Pivetta, 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts. Very good strikeout day for Pivetta. He ultimately gets charged with the loss, however, after back-to-back home runs in the 5th inning from Seiya Suzuki and Carson Kelly. That would put the Cubs out in front. They would then lead 2-1. And then later on in the game, Jeremiah Estrada came on in relief, gave up another run in the 8th, gave up a single, followed by a bunt, a walk, a wild pitch, and then a sacrifice fly from Nico Horner. So that put the Cubs ahead 3-1. So it was a rare off day for Jeremiah Estrada. Just a rare day off for the bullpen in general. Mason Miller was excellent. Struck out the side in a scoreless 7th inning, I believe it was. Yes. Adrian Morejon was excellent as well, as he has just been all year. It's just Jeremiah Estrada gave up that 1 run in 2/3 of an innings. Wandy Peralta came on and finished the job there in the 8th. So a little bit of an off day pitching-wise for the Padres and offensively. So we're going to see what the Cubs can do today. It looks like they're going to go with a bullpen game today. They have Andrew Kittredge taking the mound to open. I'm not sure. I actually don't know if it was ever said who's coming on behind him. I know it wasn't last night whenever Kittredge was announced. I'm assuming that it's going to be Imanaga. But I mean, that could very much be incorrect. I'm actually not sure. I'm going to try to find. Let's see here. So Kittredge, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know if there's any information about it. Oh, no, okay, will be Imanaga, okay. I missed Jesse Rogers' response yesterday. That's who I assumed it was going to be. So Kittredge going to open, Imanaga going to follow in bulk relief. It's good that I assumed it was going to be Imanaga because that's whose information I put on in my notes when it was coming up to the matchup. So today, Dylan Cease for the Padres, and then Kittredge opening, Imanaga to follow for the Cubs. So Dylan Cease has made 1 start against the Cubs this year. Went 5 2/3 innings. Gave up 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned on a home run from Michael Busch. A walk and 6 strikeouts. Not a great outing, but not a bad outing either. You'd like to think that an outing like that would keep the Padres in the game. And we're going to see what version of Imanaga we get tonight. He has not been great this year. He has had moments, of course, but he has had a lot of struggles. And it's partially why the Cubs are opting to go with this opener approach with Kittredge as opposed to just starting Imanaga right off the bat. So they're hopeful that maybe this can help Imanaga out and ultimately help the team out to try to sweep this series. So this is an elimination day for the Padres, of course, and they're going to rely on Dylan Cease to try to avoid elimination today. Dylan Cease obviously has had his struggles this year as well. And he's really struggled in parts, and today the Padres are going to need the good Dylan Cease. And if they get the good Dylan Cease, then I see no reason why the Padres can't win this game. If they get the bad Dylan Cease, then I'm afraid the postseason, this run for the Padres is going to be over before it ever really starts. So we're going to see. This one's tough for me to predict. I got it. This was the one I got wrong yesterday. I expected Padres to win with Nick Pivetta. That was not the case. I don't know. I mean, it's just so hard because you have 2 starting pitchers who have been so on and off all year. I mean, you just don't know what version you're going to get. You could get good Dylan Cease and bad Shota Imanaga. You could get good Shota Imanaga and bad Dylan Cease. You could get good Dylan Cease and good Shota Imanaga. You could get bad Dylan Cease and bad Shota Imanaga so that this becomes just a big old bullpen game by the 3rd inning. I mean, you just don't know. If it does end up being bullpen for bullpen, that's going to be interesting because I think the Cubs' bullpen is very underrated, especially by me. I was not rating it very highly, but yesterday you saw some really good stuff from some of their relievers. And yeah, if this becomes a bullpen for bullpen game, I don't know. I feel like on paper you probably want to give the favor to the Padres, but that wasn't the case yesterday. The Cubs had more ground to cover and they were more impressive. So, yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one. If the Padres want to win today, they need Dylan Cease to be serviceable at the very least, and they need the offense to come through. They need the offense to be pretty hot throughout. I mean, they can't just score 2 runs in the first or second inning and then stop. They can't just score a couple runs in an inning and then go stagnant the rest of. They need to be putting pressure on the pitching. And I don't know, this was this series, I thought it was going to be an easy one to predict, but it's a little difficult. I'm going to go with the Padres today just because I think it's very important for the Padres to win this game and force a Game 3 because I don't know who would start a Game 3 for the Cubs. Typically, it would probably be Cade Horton, or he would be starting Game 2, and this would probably be the approach for Game 3, but you don't have Cade Horton. So who's going to be that Game 3 starter? Who's going to be the guy that is going to be called upon for Game 3? And that's not something we yet know. And obviously, the Cubs are going to want to get this done and over with today. They do not want to force a Game 3. They do not want to have to put a liability on the mound because who would they be confident in? So the Cubs, they want to go home. They want to win this game today. They want to have off tomorrow. They want to finish this today. And the Padres want to desperately win this and force a Game 3 because that is, obviously that's their only chance, but it's also their best chance. Even if they had won yesterday, their best chance at winning is forcing a Game 3. Because you don't know what you're going to get from the Cubs. The Cubs, whoever they send up, can they be reliable against an offense or a team like the Padres? I don't know. This is obviously a must-win. This is an elimination game for the Padres, but I also think it's very important that they win this to force the Game 3 because of what the implication would be for the Cubs. At the same time, the implication for the Padres, because who would they send up for Game 3? Would they send up Michael King, who has really struggled since coming back? Is that someone that they would want to put their trust in? Who else would they put up? Yu Darvish, who has struggled? I don't know. I don't know what the Padres. If this goes to a Game 3, it's going to be very interesting to see who each team puts up there, and that's going to be a tough one to call because it either has to be King or Darvish for the Padres, right? I mean, that's who it has to be. Let me just check their wild card roster again. Let me just look over to see what other starters they have on it. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, Darvish is on there. Cease, King. Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be either Darvish or King. I don't know. I mean, Padres probably really wanted to win yesterday. They probably really needed to win yesterday, and they didn't. So, yeah, I don't know. Game 3 between these two teams would be very interesting, and I kind of want to see it. I kind of want to see what would happen in a Game 3 with both teams. I mean, I know the Cubs don't want to go to a Game 3, but you look at who would be up there, what you would be up against, and you're probably not completely hating the idea. But we'll see. I'm going to go with the Padres today to force a Game 3 tomorrow, simply because I think the Padres, I think they have the fight in them that they can extend this. I would be shocked if they ultimately got swept by the Cubs. If you told me 2 days ago that the Padres were going to get swept by the Cubs in the wild card round, I would not have believed you. But it's a very real reality right now, and could happen. Today could be the last day we see the Padres in this postseason, and we'll see what happens. I'm gonna go with the Padres again today, and it's the reason I'm going with the Padres today is because they didn't win yesterday. It's just I feel like they have to force a Game 3 here, because a Game 3 would there would be a lot on the line, obviously, in a Game 3, and you're not sure if you can trust either starting pitcher. So, and we're going to see what happens there, but it's going to be very interesting. But Padres today with Dylan Cease on the mound. Moving on to the third wild card game from yesterday, arguably the most interesting game. Red Sox, Yankees. As a fan of a team in the American League East, you just knew. You knew that this was going to be something special. You knew that any time that the Red Sox and the Yankees are able to match up in a postseason situation, it's must watch, right? I mean, it's just unbelievable baseball. The tension between the teams, the animosity, the rivalry, and then when you add two pitchers, the level of Max Fried and Garrett Crochet, I mean, it's just unbelievable baseball. This wasn't a very heavy offensive game. This was for fans of baseball that just love pitching. That's what this game was for. You saw some absolutely unbelievable pitching in this game. And as a fan of the overall sport of baseball, I love watching guys hit home runs. I love watching teams put up runs in bunches. It's obviously fun to watch an offense explode. But in my opinion, it is just as fun to watch pitching just absolutely dominating. We saw what Skubal did earlier in the day yesterday against the Guardians. Dominance. Very much enjoyable, very much fun to watch. This pitching duel was just unbelievable. And it was between the two juggernauts of the American League East, arguably one of the biggest rivalries in baseball. And you have Garrett Crochet up against Max Fried at Yankee Stadium, no less. And I mean, it was just unbelievable. At the end of the day, when you look at the grand scheme of the whole game and you look at the box score, you look at everything else, it is undeniable that Aaron Boone was outmanaged last night by Alex Cora. It's not even debatable. Alex Cora made Aaron Boone last night look like a complete fool. It was one of the best managed games I have seen, especially in a playoff game, in quite some time. It was an incredible performance from Alex Cora on the management side. He was able to match up just perfectly. Whenever Max Fried came out, that's when they started kind of sprinkling in the pinch hitters, the left-handed hitting bench. I know it was, let me see. I'm trying to think of who came on specifically against Luke Weaver. Of course, Masataka Yoshida, how could I forget? Coming in, pinch hitting for Rob Refsnyder, who had a tough day out of the leadoff spot. Nathaniel Lau came in and pinch hit. He didn't really do much. Willie Abreu didn't. But Masataka Yoshida was the big one, obviously. And Alex Cora just knew to hit the right buttons to outsmart, ultimately, Aaron Boone. And it was just brilliant. And let's just cover the starting pitching first. Max Fried ultimately goes 6 1/3 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. I feel like one of the things that's mostly disregarded out of yesterday was Max Fried threw 6 1/3 shutout, and he was pulled off the mound by Aaron Boone. He went to Luke Weaver in the 7th. Max Fried was at 102 pitches, and there was a lot of criticism after the fact from Yankee fans. We saw what Crochet did. We saw the length that he went to. He threw 117 pitches. So there was some criticism. Okay, why didn't Boone keep Fried in a little bit longer? We've just seen Scooble earlier in the day kind of be pushed a little bit. So there was a little bit of criticism on Boone's part for why he pulled Fried, quote unquote, early. And I'm on the fence as to how I feel about it. I understand in this day and age a manager pulling a starter after 100 pitches, especially in a game such a close. I mean, at this point it was 1-0, right? It was 1-0 Yankees at this point in the game, and I think the moment, he sent Fried back out in the 7th to try to get the lefty Duran out, and he did. But then he didn't want him to face Rafaela again, who, was up to that point was 0-2 against Fried. And then it would have been Nick Sogard, who had a couple of hits against Fried, or one hit against Fried, rather. But I understand wanting to pull him. I understand sending him back out to face Duran because he had just been dominating Duran up to that point. So I understand that. I also understand pulling him after that point. I probably would not have pulled him until maybe he got to Sogard. Maybe if he had gotten Rafaela out, I probably. Obviously, I'm not a manager, but I'm trying to think in the moment, and I feel like in that moment, given the stakes, given the situation of the game, you had a one run lead. It was 1-0, and Fried was doing very well. He just Fried had been doing very well, and he was sent back out there to get the lefty to pull him before Rafael. I mean, Rafaela was one of the big. I mean, he drew the walk off Weaver, and I get that Fried's command wasn't where it probably ideally should have been. He walked 3, but a lot of that, to be honest, wasn't really his fault. The umpire was not calling that top left corner of the box, but he wasn't calling it for Crochet either, so he was at least consistent in that regard. But the Yankees really wanted that call, and Fried kept going back to it, but it was never called, so it ultimately resulted in a couple of walks. But at that point in the game, you have, at that point, the worst thing that can happen is Rafaela hits a game-tying home run, right? That's the worst thing that can happen if Max Fried faces Rafaela. I understood pulling Fried at some point, maybe after Rafaela, because you don't want him to face Sogard again, who already had a hit against him. I would have understood that a little bit more, but pulling him for Rafaela, who was 0-2 against Fried last night, that particular moment didn't really make sense to me. Maybe ahead of Sogard, but again, I mean, if you get Rafaela out, the worst thing Sogard can do is hit a game-tying home run. And if he were to do that, then you can go to the bullpen. But if he doesn't get Sogard out after he gets Rafael out, let's say he gets Rafael out, they're 2 away, and Sogard hits the double, right? Do you then go to the bullpen with a runner on? Do you go to somebody like a Fernando Cruz instead, or do you still stick with Weaver? I don't know. To face Ref Snyder, who would have, and if you had brought in if you would have brought in a righty, they would have just pinch hit Yoshida anyway, and he ultimately got the hit. So I don't know. I mean, obviously hindsight, you don't pull Fried because you saw what happened after. But I feel like even in the moment, pulling him for Rafaela just didn't really make sense to me, unless it was just a pitch count thing. But I don't know. I mean, in such a high stakes game, I don't know if the pitch count. I mean, it was only at 102. I mean, you face Rafael, the worst thing that happens is that he gives you a 10 pitch at bat, and you're at 112 pitches. And if at that point you think, okay, that's enough, fine. But it's also very possible that it could have been a couple pitch battle. 2-3 pitches, and you get the second out, and then 2-3 pitches against Sogard, and you're out of the inning with under 110 pitches. I don't know. There's no way to know, but I don't fault Boone for pulling Fried at some point, but I do question why it was at that particular moment, why he chose when it was against Rafaela. And Weaver, I mean, ultimately it was just a bad night for Weaver. He didn't have it. Ultimately gives up the he walks Rafaela, gives up the double to Sogard, and then gives up the RBI single to the pinch hitter Yoshida. So Weaver faces 3 batters. He faces the minimum, does not get a single out. He allows all 3 runners to reach. Fernando Cruz comes in and gets the final 2 outs. So they get out of the inning, but the damage was already done. The Red Sox took the lead, and at that point you just kind of felt like, was this all that the Yankees had to offer? That was the managerial decision that Boone made in regards to Fried. Now you turn to Crochet, which, again, I'm going to praise Cora again for his management. I mean, it took a lot of guts to do what he did with Crochet yesterday, allowing him to throw as many pitches as he did, and to allow him to go as deep as he did. 117 pitches in 7 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. That was on the home run to Anthony Volpe. No walks, 11 strikeouts. It was a very dominant outing for Crochet. He looked absolutely incredible out there. and one bad pitch to Volpe, and that was it. At one point I think he had retired. What is it, 10 in a row that Crochet had retired. I don't know if it was after the Volpe home run. I'm not sure if it was. It was. We're at 13 retired. 16? 17 in a row retired. Is that right? Let's see. 4, 7, 10, 13. Yeah, 17 in a row retired. Wow. I'm pretty sure I knew that in the moment, but it just kind of in and out. But yeah, Crochet was absolutely dominant. 17 in a row retired after the Volpe home run. And Cora, he showed that he had faith in his ace, and he did. And ultimately, he stuck him out there after he put him back out there in the in the bottom of the seventh. After the Red Sox had taken the lead, 2-1 lead, and then even put him back out there in the eighth. The bottom of the seventh was a very quick inning. After the Red Sox had taken the lead, so they sent Crochet back out, and he ultimately got 2 more outs, and then he gave way to Aroldis Chapman. And why this was so brilliant from Alex Cora is the Yankees love to play the matchups, right? They love the platoon advantage. And against Crochet, the lefty, they had a lot of lefties on their bench. They had Ben Rice on the bench. They had Jazz Chisholm on the bench. They had Ryan McMahon on the bench. They had, let me try to think who else. Jason Dominguez was on the bench. This was a very right-handed hitting. There were only 3 lefties in this lineup. It was Bellinger, it was Grisham, and it was Wells. So 6 righties, 3 lefties. So you had a bench full of lefties. Chisholm did ultimately come into the game to play defense at second. He did get in at bat, and went 0 for 1. But the point was, by going from Crochet straight to Chapman, it didn't force Boone to keep Ben Rice on the bench, but knowing Aaron Boone, you knew that he wasn't going to pinch hit Ben Rice in that situation because it was Chapman, another lefty. So to go from lefty to lefty, it was a lefty game the whole way for the Red Sox, which kept Ben Rice on the bench, which ultimately was huge for the Red Sox because especially there in the 9th inning where it got a little hairy, definitely got hairy, but not before David Bednar gave up another run in the 9th inning, which I think is a little bit of a concern for the Yankees. David Bednar has been one of the most reliable relief pitchers for the Yankees, and in a non-save situation, he comes in and gives up a run. He gives up a single and then an RBI double from Bregman. So a little bit of a concern bullpen-wise for the Yankees. Now, I know going into this entire postseason for the Yankees, the biggest concern was the bullpen. We knew that the starters had, we knew what Fried can offer. We know what Rodon can offer. We know what Schlittler can offer. But it was going to come down to what can the bullpen do? Can the bullpen kind of work with the starting pitcher? Can it work with the offense? Can they work together? Or does the ability? And in the case last night, the bullpen was a liability. All 3 runs given up by the Yankees were from the bullpen. 2 from Weaver, 1 from Bednar. And you can't help but be a little nervous about Bednar giving up a run there in the 9th, especially in a non-save situation, because then, he gives up the run there, and then, you can't help but think, okay, if this were a save situation, can we trust Bednar to put, if this had been a 1-run game and the Yankees were up 2-1 or 4-3 or whatever, Bednar would have blown the save. So, if you look at it like that, you think about it like that, and suddenly, it's a different conversation about can you trust Bednar. Obviously, I think they're still going to stick with him as the closer. I don't think that this is going to ultimately affect how they use him. But I do think it's still noteworthy to notice just what happened in the first game that Bednar pitched in the postseason. I do think that it's still a talking point. So got a little dicey in the bottom of the ninth. So at the time, it was going into the ninth inning. It was a 2-run Red Sox lead. They'd only scored the 2 runs off Weaver that came in the seventh. Fernando Cruz came in and got the final 2 outs, and he pitched very well. Devin Williams came out in the 8th and pitched very well. So those 2 guys pitched very well, who are 2 guys that the Yankees are going to need to pitch very well, especially Devin Williams. He has primarily been used as of late as the setup man for Bednar. He's done quite well in that role. So I think the Yankees are hopeful that they have found a groove for Devin, and that he is finding a groove as the setup man for Bednar. Tim Hill, of course, came out and got the final out of the top of the ninth, but then we got to the bottom of the ninth. Aroldis Chapman came back out, and breaking news: Brian Snitker will not be back as manager of the Braves. So that is yet another manager that is leaving an organization. So that there are a lot of great managers out on the market right now, and when a lot of teams looking for managers in this offseason. You now have Atlanta, you have Texas, you have Los Angeles, the Anaheim, you have San Francisco, you have Baltimore, you have potentially the Nationals, you have potentially the Rockies. A lot of teams looking for managers, and I'm sure that there's only going to be more news about managers either being fired or mutually parting ways or whatever. But Snitker is out as Braves manager, so that's some pretty big news on this Wednesday morning. So, but anyway, back to the Yankee-Red Sox game. Aroldis Chapman came in for the final out of the 8th inning, as we mentioned earlier. It was a four out save, got up the final out of the 8th. So we got to the 9th, and as I mentioned, the Red Sox did score another run. So there was a little bit of it was a pretty lengthy inning and there was also another pitching change. So it was a lengthy. Okay, so it looks like that Snitker is going to remain with the Braves organization in a senior advisory capacity. That's from Jeff Passan. Okay. Interesting. So we'll see what happens there. Trying to focus here, but breaking news. I mean, when you're live, breaking news comes and it becomes prevalent in the moment. But anyway, so this top of the 9th inning was a little bit lengthy, and I wonder if it could have been intentional on the side of Aaron Boone, especially to go and bring in Tim Hill to try to get Chapman to have to wait longer to come back out to pitch. If that was a tactic used by Boone, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if somebody asked him about it after the game or what his answer would have been or was if he was asked. But definitely a tactic that I thought of in the moment, and the ESPN broadcasters thought about it as well, mentioned it. So that could have been the case, and going into the bottom of the ninth, it looked like that it might have been successful. You're facing the top of the Yankee order in the ninth and a 2, but that the point that I was trying to get to ultimately by mentioning what happened in the top of the ninth was that how the insurance run was pretty vital, especially after once you got the bases loaded situation there in the bottom of the ninth. That extra run looked a lot more important. So we go to the bottom of the ninth. It's the top of the order. Goldschmidt, Judge, Bellinger, Stanton are your 4 coming up. Bellinger singles. Judge singles. Let me try that again. Goldschmidt singled first to lead off. Judge singled, and then Bellinger singled. So back-to-back-to-back singles. Put runners on first, second, and third. Bases loaded. Nobody out. You had Giancarlo Stanton coming up. Jazz Chisholm after that. Trent Grisham after him. And you look at the numbers of those 3 players in particular this year, and you're thinking, Okay. Things are about to get interesting. You have these three guys who are incredible hitters, especially this year, against one of the best closers in the game, Aroldis Chapman, against his former team at his former stadium in a big playoff game where Chapman has not always performed well, right? You have all of that coming into this one moment where you have bases loaded, nobody out. You have all these thoughts going through your mind about how, like I said, you have Stanton at the plate with the bases loaded. The winning run is at first base. Stanton, we know what he does in the postseason. He hits bombs. So that's the first thing that you're thinking. When the bases are loaded and Stanton's up, you're thinking, okay, grand slam, Yankee fans go home happy tonight. That's the first thought. Second thought is, okay, it's Aroldis Chapman. He's a great closer, but he's against his former team, and he seems to already be crumbling a little bit, giving up back-to-back-to-back hits. He's against his former club at a stadium where the fans of said stadium were not always kind to Aroldis Chapman. And, of course, they're cheering. They're on their feet. They just can't believe what's happening. They think that they're going to walk this off. They think that this is going to be one of the biggest wins in franchise. I mean, they are just going crazy, right? And this is all happening. And Chapman just has to stand there on the mound, and he has to try to fight through this. What does he do? He strikes out Stanton. And right then and there, you're thinking, holy, that is huge. Because that was the big one. I mean, I know Chisholm and Grisham, they both deserve a lot of credit. They are great hitters. They were great hitters for the Yankees this season. But you get Stanton out. The big righty bat with the bases loaded. You get Stanton. At that point, you are fired up. You're fired up if you're Chapman and you're the Red Sox, because that is the big mountain that needed to be climbed. That game could have been over right then and there. We didn't even have to see Chisholm or Grisham. But Chapman got Stanton to strike out swinging. So at that point, huge. Absolutely huge. Massive. At that point, I mean, adrenaline is pumping. You are on your feet. I mean, this is me, right? I mean, I see Stanton swing through that pitch, and I'm on my feet. I'm thinking, is he going to do this? Because that was the big one. No, again, not discrediting Chisholm or Grisham, but that was the big one. You get to Chisholm. He flies out to right. You think, okay, is that deep enough? Is that deep enough? But then in the back of your mind, you think, it doesn't matter. Because the Red Sox scored that insurance run in the ninth. So that run at third, that's not the tying run. So that run doesn't even matter. So even if it is deep enough, it doesn't matter. But it wasn't deep enough because Goldschmidt didn't tag. Goldschmidt didn't score. And I saw some fans, Yankee fans in particular, of course, a little upset at that. A little upset that they opted to keep Goldschmidt in there to run. They thought, where was Jason Dominguez? He was going to run for Stanton because that's his job. His job is to run for Stanton late in games. If Stanton gets on in the 7th, 8th, 9th, that's Dominguez. That's Dominguez's spot. Now, you can argue why you didn't bring in somebody else, but, who else would you have brought in besides Dominguez? And he was going to be saved for Stanton, right? At that point, I don't know if it would have been logical to use him for Stanton, considering the fact that Stanton was no longer the winning run. It would have been Bellinger. And Bellinger's got speed. So I can understand the criticism for not bringing Dominguez in to run for Goldschmidt, but it's not like Goldschmidt's slow. It's not like that he's, it's not like he's Stanton, right? I mean, I get that he's a little older, but, he's got a good amount of stolen bases to his name in his career. So I think Yankee fans are just trying to find something. To kind of blame. They're trying to find blame somewhere. I don't think that's it. I think the blame for this game goes on Luke Weaver. Maybe Aaron Boone for pulling Fried when he did. But definitely does not go on Goldschmidt or Boone in the sense that he did not pinch run Dominguez in that spot because it wasn't even the tying run. But anyway, Chisholm flies out. Then you got Grisham, and at this point you're feeling okay. You're feeling pretty good if you're the Red Sox. He strikes out Grisham, the game's over, and Red Sox win 3-1. But Stanton was the big one, and then that's kind of set the table for the rest. And just a very impressive outing from Garrett Crochet and Aroldis Chapman as the Yankees or as the Red Sox secure Game 1, which is a huge game to win. So we head to tonight, Yankee Stadium. It will be Brian Bayo for the Red Sox, Carlos Rodon for the Yankees. And both of these pitchers have made 3 starts against the opposing team this year. Carlos Rodon, we'll start with him. He's made 3 starts, like I said, against the Red Sox, a 1-2 record. So not great numbers heading into an elimination game. So June 8th was the first start. 5 innings, 3 hits, 5 runs with 2 home runs. One from Christian Campbell, which I feel is not going to have an impact on this game in particular tonight. Just a gut feeling of mine. I could be wrong, but I just don't think that I don't think Christian Campbell is going to play a factor tonight. And the second home run was from Carlos Narvaez. I could very well see him get in there tonight against another lefty. So we'll see what happens there. June 14th, the following week, he made another start against the Red Sox, 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, only 3 earned, 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. Those are both of his losses. So 2 really tough outings for Rodon there against the Red Sox in back-to-back starts. But his last time out on August 24th against the Red Sox was a little bit better. 5 2/3 innings, 1 hit, 2 runs, 5 walks. The walks were a real issue for Rodon there, and 3 strikeouts. This was his win. Basically, the moral of the story, as it feels like for Rodon against the Red Sox, is the Red Sox are able to really drive that pitch count up and get him out of the game. And they're able to really hit him pretty hard. Now, in 2 of these starts, I think it's interesting that the Red Sox scored more runs than they did hits. But also in both of those games, the walk numbers is pretty elevated. So this tells me that the Red Sox know how to be patient against Rodon. They know how to drive up the pitch count and be patient with him. So I have a feeling that we're going to see that again tonight. Like I said, this is an elimination game for the Yankees, so they really need Rodon to go deep here, because if he struggles early, they're going to have to pull him early, which means that they're going to have to go to the bullpen. And we saw what the bullpen did yesterday. Gave up all 3 runs. Now, I need to be reminded of who all is on the... I know Ryan Yarborough is on the Yankee postseason roster, and he's their long man. I don't know. Will Warren is also in the bullpen, so he could probably carry a good amount of the load if Rodon struggles. Probably going to turn to Warren. But I'm trying to pull up the postseason roster here. Okay. Oh no. Yarborough is not on the roster. It's Paul Blackburn. Okay. Blackburn, Duvall, Leiter, Warren. So I guess it would have to be Warren that would be in bulk relief. When did he last start? Did he last started, that was Friday night, I think it was. Was it Friday or was it Saturday? I'm trying to think. Sunday was Heel. Saturday was, I want to say Saturday was Rodon. Couldn't have been Rodon. Saturday was... Saturday must have been Warren. And then Friday was Rodon. Was Friday Rodon? Must have been. Had to have been. I don't know. It's not important. Anyway, Warren probably going to be available coming out of the bullpen for the Yankees if needed, if Rodon struggles a little bit. But anyway, those are Overall, Rodon's numbers this year against the Red Sox in the regular season, 15 and 2/3 innings, 11 hits, 11 runs. Not good numbers. 10 earned, 10 walks, 12 strikeouts. You see a lot of double digits in there, a lot of double digits. A lot of double-digit hits, double-digit runs, double-digit walks. This is going to be a tough game for the Yankees if Rodon is going to be pitching the way that he has pitched all year to the Red Sox. So we'll see. This is a must-win game for the Yankees, so I feel like they're going to be pushing some buttons today. I feel like, if Yankee fans were upset at some of the decisions that Boone made yesterday, they better prepare themselves for what decisions he's going to make today, because this is an elimination game, so Boone's going to be all over this. His fingerprints are going to be all over this game, and he's going to be making some rash decisions. So we'll see if they pay off. We'll see what they are. Going to be interesting. Brian Bayo against the Yankees this year, 3 starts, a 2-1 record. First start June 15th. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, so 7 scoreless for Bayo. This was one of his wins. August 22nd, a little familiar, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. This was his second win. So 2 7-inning shutout appearances for Bayo against the Yankees. His last time out just a few weeks ago was a little bit worse. 5 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs on one of the runs coming from Jazz Chisholm Jr., a home run. 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. This was his loss. So if we see the Bayo that we saw earlier in the season, at least in June and August against the Yankees, this feels like a pretty good matchup for the Red Sox. But if we see the Bayo that we just saw a few weeks ago, gives the Yankees a chance to stay in this game and a chance for Rodon in the bullpen to try to hold this game down. So on the season, 19 innings, 11 hits, 4 runs, 7 walks, 17 strikeouts for Bayo against the Yankees. Obviously, on paper, Bayo has looked more impressive against the Yankees. Rodon has not looked very impressive against the Red Sox this year. So I do think this is a cause for concern. I do think it's interesting that, who else were they going to go with for Game 2 if it wasn't going to be Rodon? But judging by the numbers against the Red Sox, I don't know. You probably should have. Thought this through a little bit more. I don't know. Will this backfire? Do we see Rodon get beat up by? Do we see Rodon get beat up by the Red Sox yet again? I don't know. It remains to be seen, but we will find out tonight. I'm going to go with the Red Sox tonight. I think the Red Sox sweep the Yankees. I think the Yankees go home. I think the Red Sox advance to the DS and they sweep the Yankees. I know that this is a must-win for the Yankees, but I just don't know if their pitching staff has what it takes to carry them to a Game 3. I really want this to go to a Game 3. I really want to see. It's likely going to be rookie against rookie with a Early and Schlittler. I really want to see that. I would love to see how those two pitch in a must-win game in a Game 3. I would love to see that, but I don't know if we do. I think the Red Sox sweep. I don't want them to because I want a Game 3, but I think the Red Sox sweep. On paper, Red Sox sweep. But I hope the Yankees batting seventh, catching. Zach McKinstry batting 8th, playing 3rd. Javi Baez batting 9th, playing shortstop. I do believe that is the same lineup from yesterday, at least one that's very similar. Guardians also did post their lineup. It's pretty different. Significantly different, which is what it needed to be. Kwan leading off, playing left. Valero playing right. Batting 2nd. Ramirez, 3rd. Playing 3rd. Manzardo DHing, cleaning up. Bo Naylor catching, batting 5th. Arias batting 6th, playing short. DeLauder making his big league debut, I believe. I don't think he came into the game yesterday. Maybe he ran. I don't think he came into the game yesterday. Let me confirm that. I don't think he came in, but I very much could be wrong. Yeah, he never came in. So this will be DeLauder's big league debut. Big spot to be in an elimination day. He's batting 7th, playing center. Kayfus playing first, batting 8th. And Rocchio batting 9th, playing 2nd. So we got Naylor in there today. Valera is in there playing right. DeLauder's in there playing center instead of Angel Martinez, which is interesting, but platoon. Kayfus in there playing first instead of Noel. Let me see. I do think Meadows, Torres, Carpenter, Torkelson, Green, Perez. It's the exact same lineup for the Tigers, of course. Mize starting for the Tigers and Bybee starting for the Guardians. So those are your lineups for game 1 of day 2 of the Wild Card series. So coming up next, we're going to talk about the Dodgers-Reds game from last night, which a little bit disappointing, but it did get a little interesting there toward the end. So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, and then we're going to get on out of here. So we're going to, when we come back, we'll talk about the Reds and the Dodgers, and we'll be right back. when we look at yesterday's final game of the Wild Card Series, Reds and Dodgers, I can't help but feel a little disappointed. Now, I'm not surprised. I expected to be disappointed because I said yesterday, I just did not. I needed to be convinced that the Reds were a competitive team, that the Reds could make a run for it. And what I saw from the Reds yesterday did not even come close to convincing me that the Reds are capable of making a run for it. Their ace, Hunter Green, was absolutely, he was just beat up. He went 3 innings, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. I mean, it was 3 home runs off Hunter Green in 3 innings. Shohei Ohtani leadoff home run. You can live with that, right? I mean, you can live with the leadoff home run. But then you get to the third, Teoscar Hernandez and Tommy Edman hitting back-to-back home runs. You can't really live with that. Hunter Green was terrible yesterday. I mean, he was terrible. You can't be Hunter. You cannot be an ace of a playoff team and go in there and perform the way that he did yesterday. You can't. How are you supposed to win a game when your ace is going out there and giving up 5 runs in 3 innings? And you have to pull them after 3 innings. And you're leaving it up to the bullpen. A bullpen that is not good. A bullpen that limped its way. I mean, this team limped its way. This team is in the playoffs because the Mets collapsed. That's what it comes down to. I mean, this team is in the playoff because the Mets became so bad that they just handed it to them. The Reds didn't earn this. I mean, you could say that they did. I mean, did they? They won 83 games. They were 4 games over 500. This is how bad the National League wildcard race was. That the team that went 4 games over 500 won the final wildcard spot. I mean, I said yesterday I needed convincing, right? Look at who won the final wild card spot for the American League. 87 and 75. That is 12 games over 500. Okay. When you're 12 games over 500, you have proven to me, I mean, the fact that you are 12 games over 500, that says to me that you are a good team. That says to me that you have earned a playoff spot. The American League wildcard hunt was very competitive. There were a lot of teams in the mix, and there were a lot of teams that did not make the cut, like the Astros, like who else? Mainly the Astros were the big team that missed out. But you had a lot of teams that were hovering at 500 or a little over that just didn't make the cut. In the National League, you can be 4 games over 500 and you're the third wild card team. That's how bad the National League wild card race got, and that is how bad the Mets got, to the point that they missed out on this and the Reds were in 4 games over 500 and you're a wild card team. That is all it took. This is how bad the National League was. I said yesterday I needed convincing, and I still need convincing that the Reds can make a... Why am I to believe that they're not going to get swept today and they're not going to get dominated today like they did yesterday? The Dodgers are sending Yamamoto to the mound tonight, who has been their ace, who has become so close to multiple no-hitters this year. And I'm supposed to expect that the Reds can beat that? A team that offensively is dreadful, that ultimately scored 5 runs on a tired Blake Snell in the 7th inning, and a horrible Dodgers bullpen. How many of the Reds' runs came on bases loaded walks? That's not being offensively smart. That's not being good offensively. That's being patient at the plate. You're realizing that a starter cannot throw strikes, so you're just standing there. Now, I will give the Reds some credit. You know, there were some really good at-bats in this game. But you look at the 8th inning here. Alex Vesia comes in. Single, ground out, walk. Roberts goes to the bullpen, gets Henriquez. Walk, RBI, RBI single. Goes back to the bullpen, gets Dreyer. RBI walk, strikeout, pop out. This was their comeback. 3 runs in the 8th. 2 of the runs came on bases loaded walks. 1 run came on an actual hit. They had bases loaded, 1 out, and they scored 3 runs on 1 hit. I'm supposed to believe that this team can make a run. This team is dreadful. Starting pitching is dreadful. The bullpen, dreadful. The offense, dreadful. They scored 5. They limped. I mean, they were handed 5 runs. I don't want to beat up on the Reds, but I mean, this was just such an underwhelming game. It got interesting in the 8th, I will say. In the 8th inning, I was intrigued. But the rest of the time, the result was never in question. I mean, the result wasn't even in question here because you knew that they needed at least 5 runs. And that was after the walk, the final walk that brought in another run. You knew that they needed at least 5 more runs. And you looked at these at-bats, you looked at the players on this team, and not once did you think that they were going to be capable of doing that. They made it interesting. They loaded the bases. They were 1 swing away from a 1-run game, but you had no faith in any player on this team hitting a grand slam in that moment or hitting a bases-clearing double in that moment. Half the players in this lineup, you are questioning, where did they come from? Why are they here? You have Elly De La Cruz, all-star, an incredible player. Outside of that, I love Austin Hayes because he's a former Oriole, but what did he do here? What's Austin Hayes bringing you? I don't know. Who are these people and why are they here? They're here because the Mets collapsed. It's as simple as that. Without the Mets being as awful as they were the last month, the Reds are not here. The Reds are here because the Mets didn't want it. The Reds are not here because they worked tirelessly. They worked their ass off to get here. They're here because the Mets became so bad that they knocked themselves out. Back in a moment. I think part of the frustration that I have about last night's game between the Dodgers and the Reds is that we saw 3 highly competitive games. The Guardians and the Tigers, Cubs, Padres, Yankees, Red Sox. 3 incredible games. 3 games that were highly competitive up until the last pitch, right? And we went from that to this. We went from that to this, where we saw the Dodgers beat up on a poverty franchise that don't belong here. They might one day belong in the playoffs, the Reds. But in 2025, with Hunter Green as their ace, giving up 5 runs in 3 innings, you're not ready for the playoffs. If your ace is giving up 5 runs in 3 innings, I get that this is the Dodgers. I get that this is arguably the best offense in baseball, but still, you can't win games when your ace is out there giving up 5 runs in 3 innings pitched, and you have to turn over to a bullpen that is not even remotely good. You name me 2 pitchers out of the Reds bullpen that you have heard of and have a reputation for being good. Try me. You want to name Connor Phillips? Gives up a 2-run shot to Ohtani. Gives up a home run to Teoscar Hernandez. 5 home runs given up by the Reds last night. 2 to Ohtani, 2 to Teoscar Hernandez. Teoscar Hernandez. Don't need to remind you of the year that he's had. It's been dreadful. He's had his moments, of course, but for the year overall, you compare this year to last year, regression. I mean, unbelievable regression. How am I supposed to believe that the Reds can make a run? If they had faced the Padres or the Cubs, would the result have been any different? Maybe against the Cubs because they're division teams and there's always some competitiveness there. But against the Padres, would the outcome have been different? 4 games over 500. This team is 4 games over 500 and they're in the playoffs. How do we get here? If you're 4 games up, and you're in a playoff spot. Dodgers 93-69. That is 24 games over 20 more games over 500 than their opponents, the Reds, in a playoff game. The Cubs 92-70, 18 games over 500. The Padres 90-72. 24 games over 500. 22 games over 500. 18 games over 500. 4 games over. This is how dreadful the National League wild card spot has been. And is. This is unfair. The Mets were in this spot, and they blew it. So the Reds are getting an opportunity to embarrass themselves against the Dodgers, the reigning World Series champions in Los Angeles, by being a team that makes the playoffs with a record that is 4 games over 500. Against a team that's 24 games over 500. What are we doing? I mean, what are we doing here? Someone convince me that the Reds can make a run. Maybe in 2026, maybe in 2027, but in 2025, 4 games over 500. 4. 2 more losses, and they're at 500. 3 more losses, and they're below 500. They're in the playoffs. The National League this year has been juggernauts, everybody else. There's such a wide gap. There's such a wide margin that it's simply unfair. It's simply unfair. To match up the Dodgers and the Reds in the wild card round, what are we doing? Did anybody believe that the Reds had a chance? I'm happy for the Reds and their fan base. I mean, they were granted a postseason opportunity. I mean, it was handed to them on a silver platter. 4 games over 500. I'm not going to say that you earned it. I'm not going to say that this was well-deserved. It was handed to you because the Mets blew it. They were so bad, that they blew it. They were 20 games up. They were the best team in baseball. I'm not even a Mets fan, and I'm upset about it. Because this is the team I have to watch play the reigning World Series champions in playoff baseball. I watched Tariq Skubal strike out 14. I watched Gavin Williams pitch his ass off despite 2 unearned runs. I watched the Guardians bullpen be excellent. In a close game. A 2-1 game. It was it was intense. There was a runner at third, nobody out. The bottom of the 9th for Cleveland. I got to watch that. I got to sit there and enjoy that moment. And be excited. I got to watch the Cubs hit back-to-back home runs at Wrigley to take the lead. I got to watch Aroldis Chapman get out of a bases-loaded, nobody-out situation in the bottom of the 9th in the Bronx in a 2-run game. I got to watch Garrett Crochet be pushed by his manager, believed in by his manager. I watched Alex Cora deliver a managing masterclass. I watched all that yesterday. Excellent baseball. I get to this embarrassment of a game. We go from that, those 3 games, high intensity, close games that have to be fought for, games that have to be earned. And then I get to this, 10 runs the Reds gave up. 10 runs in 8 innings pitched. Their ace gave up 5 runs in 3 innings. What are we doing? Why are we here? Just a waste of time. That's all it is. Dodgers are going to sweep the Reds. They're going to face the Phillies this weekend. That's going to be electric. That's going to be must-see. In Philadelphia, in front of one of the hottest crowds. But in the meantime, we have to sit through this. We have to watch the Dodgers beat up on a defenseless Reds team that have no fight, that have no chance, that are here because the Mets, with over a $300 million payroll, blew it because they couldn't find good pitching. Because their rotation was awful. Because their bullpen was overused and thus became awful. It's unfair, not just to Mets fans, but to baseball fans, that we have to watch the Reds embarrass themselves. A team that's not ready. Maybe one day will be, but they're not now. To watch a team embarrass themselves. This isn't some nothing game in the middle of June. This isn't some late night game that nobody's watching because it's at midnight. This isn't one of those. This isn't that. This is playoff baseball, where the best teams make it in. But the Reds are not worthy. They're not. Not in this spot. Not against this team. It's an embarrassment. But on to tonight. Some of the other notes I have here from the Reds-Dodgers game. Blake Snell, 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. He gets the win. I still think the Dodgers' bullpen is a concern. I think it needs to be a concern. Alex Vesia gives up 2 runs in the 8th. Edgardo Henriquez gives up 1 run. Can't get an out, much like Luke Weaver for the Yankees. Jake Dreyer walked in a run after with the bases loaded. He came in with an with the bases loaded. Inherited the bases loaded. Walked in the run. Blake Trinan was very good, though. He got the 9th in the 5-run game. And when Blake Trinan is pitching well, the Dodgers are typically doing well. And that was the case here. Blake Trinan threw a scoreless 9th. Looked very good. Dodgers are going to need him to be dominant and be the Blake Trinan that they signed if they want to make a run here. So, Dodgers won 10-5. We get to tonight. For the Reds, Zach Littell, who they acquired from Tampa at the trade deadline, he has not faced the Dodgers this year. He didn't even face the Dodgers last year. So this is going to be kind of a first-time matchup for a lot of Littell against the Dodgers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto going up against the Reds, the Dodgers ace. I'm begging the Reds to give me a reason to believe. I'm begging the Reds to give me a reason to believe that they belong here. They're going to face the Dodgers ace. The ace of the Dodgers pitching staff, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the guy that they spent over $300 million on. Give me a reason to believe. Give me a reason to think that you belong. It's all I want. And last night scoring 5 runs, no. You were handed those runs. You didn't earn them. Not 2 bases loaded walks, no. You're patient. Shout out Tyler Stevenson for, what was it, an 11-pitch battle that ended in a strikeout. The Dodgers have been competitive for 13 straight years. 13 straight years, and nobody is coming for their throne. And all I'm asking is for some competition for the Dodgers. Competition. Not the Cincinnati Reds of 2025. Now, the Phillies this weekend, I'm really excited for that. I think the Phillies have what it takes to go all the way this year. I think they always have what it takes to go all the way. Why they don't is, for whatever reason, that I quite frankly don't know. But this year, they have the pitching, they have the bullpen, they have the offense. They can make a run. And against a hot Dodgers team with a struggling bullpen, I'm very much intrigued by that matchup. So I'm ready to get to the weekend. I'm ready to look past this series, which was just an embarrassment for the Cincinnati Reds and was just batting practice for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm looking toward the weekend and the Phillies series in Philadelphia. It starts in Philadelphia. That's what I'm excited for. Yamamoto made 1 start against the Reds this year. It was on July 28th. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. Got the win. Probably going to see that again today. Something like it. Something very similar. Because you look at this team, and what do they have? Right now, nothing. Love Terry Francona. Great manager. Hall of Fame manager. But look at what he's working with. You send your ace out there and he gets embarrassed. The Dodgers mop the floor with your ace. Game 1. Give me a reason to believe. Give me a reason to think that I'm the one overreacting, that I'm the one that's wrong. Give me a reason to think that the Reds can do it. If you go out there again tonight and you do what you did yesterday, you deserve to get bounced. You deserve to get swept. You don't deserve to win. Improve the team. Get better. Or improve the National League as a whole. Seeing that this is the best that they have to offer. The Pirates have Paul Skeens. And they're a dead organization. Their owners don't give a damn about the fans. They put together a horrendous team year after year. Now they have Paul Skeens. They can build a team around him and they refuse. Do something. Make the fan base proud to be a Pirates fan and not just a Paul Skeens fan. The Mets. Get better pitching. The Marlins, there's a foundation. Build upon it. Improve it. The Nationals. I love the Nationals. I love the young core. Build on it. Give them something to fight for. Find them competent pitching. The Giants. The poor Giants. I don't know what you do with the Giants. They're going to get a new manager. Hopefully that helps. The Diamondbacks. Nobody can tell me that they would not have preferred to see the Diamondbacks in this series. Imagine the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, division rivals at Dodger Stadium. One final time this year. Competition. Instead, we get the Reds. Do better. Get better. Show me why you belong. Show me why you're here. All you're showing me now is that you should be bounced immediately. Show me fight tonight. Show me heart. Fight on elimination day. And don't embarrass yourselves all over again. Please. And that's about going to wrap it up here. I love baseball. I love this sport. I love playoff baseball. But when you have the Reds in there against the Dodgers and they're looking like this, they're playing like this, there should not be a team in the playoffs that I can't believe in. For one reason or another. There should not be a team in the playoffs that I can't, for any reason, believe in. In the case of the Reds, they're a team that I have nothing to believe in. Prove me wrong tonight. Against the Dodgers ace, one of the best pitchers in the National League. Against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. prove me wrong. Please. Give me hope. Give your fan base hope. Fight. It's not going to be easy, but playoff baseball isn't. You can't show up and not fight. Make us believe. Even if it's just for one night, make us believe. Force a game 3. And show competitiveness. Show fight. Show grit. Show heart. That's all we ask. As baseball fans, not even a Reds fan, as baseball fans, as playoff baseball fans. It's all we ask for. It's all we ask for. We'll be back here tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, for day 3 of the Wild Card Series. We will recap day 2, much like we did day 1 today. We will recap day 2, and hopefully I can talk about some Cincinnati Reds showing some fight. I hope. So we'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Beltway Network for another edition of the Full Count Offering. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Please do consider liking this live show, subscribing, chatting with us down below, following us over on Twitter. All the information you need is down in the description below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow right here on the Full Count Offering on the Beltway Network.